I hate PragerU. PragerU is this massive. It's a massive propaganda outlet for the lowest of low brain takes, just tiniest of IQ takes that you could find on the internet. But they're persuasive to a lot of these right wingers. So I feel like it's important to put them in their place from now and again. So PragerU, today, just today, everyone, we're one of the first people to reach it. PragerU, just today, blessed us like manna from heaven with a brand new take. Stop talking to me. I'm doing my monologue. Okay, blessed us with a brand new take, and that is, the right is actually better at protecting the environment than the left. Look, do we have to destroy the earth to save it? Never in my life have I thought that just destroying the earth makes it better. Are you talking about, like, I don't know, like a volcano erupting and then the fertile grounds afterwards it leads to, I don't know what he's talking about. But I watched a little bit of this video and it left my head spinning. Okay, so I wanted to watch this with you because I haven't even finished it yet, and we can all enjoy the magic that is a PragerU video if I can get this thing to freaking load.
Do we need to destroy the environment to save it? That's the question I faced a few years ago.
Who was 8 seconds in, who was ever faced with this question in their entire, must we destroy the environment to save it? What does that mean? How would you ever destroy the environment and how would that save it? But maybe he's going to explain.
Co-founded a movement that was the precursor to the Green New Deal. It was called the New Apollo Project. If we could send a man to the moon, we reasoned, surely we could save our own planet.
Yeah, we can. We definitely can. We just have to have the political capital to do such, because lots of people just kind of like don't care as much. The problems that arise from global warming and climate destruction and animals habitat destruction happens much slower, and so we just don't care about it as much as like a flash flood or a tornado or like a law being passed down that immediately affects our lives. So it's harder for us to care about it. But yeah, we definitely can if we put the work to it.
All we had to do was harness the power of the wind and the sun and get rid of fossil fuels. Compared to the original Apollo mission, how hard could that be?
Well, I mean, it's not. It is something, but we could like throw money at it and we can get it done. Put the smartest scientists we got on it, and we could definitely figure something out. I don't think that there's any reason why we couldn't.
Well, it turned out to be very hard, practically impossible, in fact.
What?
The basic laws of physics and chemistry proved to be very stubborn. But as I did more and more research, something else began to trouble me. The prospect that pushing the planet toward wind and solar energy would actually cause more harm to the environment than good.
Okay, so we got the premise. Wind and solar does more damage than fossil fuels to the planet. This is the hottest of hot takes. I have never heard something this incredibly dumb, but he's got to use something to justify it. So let's see what it is.
There's no better example of this than what wind and solar energy do to birds.
No.
Industrial wind turbines, those giant generators of wind power, are the greatest new threat to golden and bald eagles. But the eagles are hardly the only ones threatened. Condors, owls, hawks, and falcons all fall prey to the turbine's mighty blades.
So this is true. This is true that birds do get slippity sliced up by those big wind turbine blades. This does happen, definitely. Birds are the most important shit. Birds don't exist and they're invented by the government. See, we don't even have to say that they're the most important thing, because we just shouldn't be just indiscriminately murdering birds like out of nowhere. It does suck that wind turbines do take out a lot of birds. Let's see what else he has to say.
And believe me, there's a big wind industry now, just like there's big oil and big pharma.
Yeah, big wind. Who's in the pocket of big wind? Yeah, let's go. It's like Kyle who's in the pocket of big seltzer. Big wind means almost as much as big seltzer.
Claims that house cats kill more birds than wind turbines. That's true, but whereas cats kill small common birds like sparrows, wind turbines kill big, threatened with extinction and slow to reproduce species like bald eagles and condors.
Well, for one, house cats don't always just kill these sorts of birds. Places like England, some places with some more with a little bit more endangered species. These house cats do a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage to the bird population. Okay, it happens, and he's kind of like trying to push that aside. Like, yeah, it doesn't kill, like, probably like Mittens isn't going to take down a bald eagle anytime soon. Most likely not. But still, these cats do a lot of damage and kill more birds than
Indeed, industrial
wind turbines.
Wind farms are killing fields for birds. The more turbines you put up, the more birds you're going to slaughter. According to the American Bird Conservancy in 2017, research shows that hundreds of thousands of birds and bats die every year when they accidentally collide with the turbine blades. That number grows with each turbine built. The Royal Society for the Preservation of Birds reports that wind farms built off the coast of Britain could be the final nail in the coffin for endangered seabirds.
I'm not sure if that was a quote, but I do know a lot more things are playing into the harm of these birds than the windmills. And like he said there, it's really interesting that cats are doing more damage to the bird population than these windmills are. So you can think, what is also doing more damage to these birds populations than windmills? Well, we could take a look. I was able to pull up this article, all right? And this article is actually called Stop the Spin. It's called it says turbines less deadly than fossil fuels to birds. Yes, and the birds that die from fossil fuels, from getting poisoned with the emissions, for having their environments destroyed, do more damage to these birds than windmills ever do. Take a look at North America. Windmills kill an estimated 140 to 328,000 birds annually. That's a lot of birds. When I first read through this, I didn't even think that the environment could take 300,000 birds dying annually. And it says a 2014 study claims that says turbines kill between 214 and 368,000 birds annually. So I think this is kind of where he was pulling his numbers from. And even a 2013 study said between 500,000 and 888,000 birds and bats were killed by turbines. Okay, but it's important to put these numbers into perspective. And we could take a look here, and we could say the peer-reviewed 2014 study by two federal scientists in the environmental consulting firm Western Ecosystems Technology Inc., however, found that the number is small compared to the estimated 6.8 million fatalities from collisions with cell towers and radio towers. And only 0.1% of birds each year that die from collisions with wind turbines. So we could look, 0.1% is really small when we're actually talking about the actual bird population. Okay, and we can take a look at something really interesting here. Collisions with windows, on the other hand, kill between 356 million and 988 million birds annually. Collisions with windows kill 1 billion birds. 1 billion. 1 billion. Listen, I'm not that great at math. I'm really not. But I do think that 1 billion is a slightly bigger number than 300,000. Just a tiny bit. Just an incy little bit. 1 billion is far worse to the bird population than wind turbines. And I'm not sure if this guy is going to sit here and say that we need to be building better buildings with anti-bird collision technology or anything. He's here, for some reason, talking about one of the least problematic things that the bird population in North America and England have to deal with. I highly doubt this guy is going to sit here and complain about birds smacking into the Empire State Building. I wonder how many birds that is claimed. Maybe more than wind turbines in total, with how long it's been up. I wouldn't even doubt it with how many 1 billion is. 1 billion birds, 1 billion a year. Okay. Thank you, Prager.
The Center for Biological Diversity calls the Altamont Pass wind farm in California a population sink for golden eagles as well as burrowing owls.
So, these wind turbines probably are bad. We need to probably think about the impact that these wind turbines have on the population of these creatures. But with that being said, they are nowhere near as bad as fossil fuels and windows to birds. I didn't even think there were that many birds in America, like a billion birds in America. But apparently, not only are there a billion birds in America, there are a billion birds that could just like drop off the face of the earth every year, and the bird population is, you know, for better or for worse, not too bad.
As for solar farms, they produce an entirely different set of problems, although they also are very harmful for birds. In California, according to a federal report, massive solar arrays produce heat up to 900 degrees. When birds fly into those arrays, they simply burn up. Building a solar farm is a lot like building any other kind of massive industrial facility. You have to clear the whole area of wildlife. For example, in order to construct the Ivanpah Solar Farm in California near the Nevada border, developers hired biologists to pull threatened desert tortoises from their burrows. The tortoises were then loaded on the back of pickup trucks and caged in pens, where many ended up dying.
I am not sure if this is true, but let's say I'm not sure how many is. Is 10% many? 25% many? I think he would have said if it was 50%, maybe it was 10 or 5%. 5% could be many. If they're moving thousands of turtles, 5% could genuinely be a lot. And we're not sure how they died. All right. Could be moving, could be stress. Reptiles get a lot of stress. You pick up a reptile, you freaking chuck them to another side of the continent, probably a lot of stress, they may die. This happens a lot with reptiles. But would this be any better in a fossil fuel plant? If they're building a new coal plant, or like anything, any building, they would have done the exact same thing. But now we have to, because we have to move these creatures if we're going to set something up here. So what we got to ask is it worth it? And how many died? And how many can we save by putting this up? And how much can we save through pollution is one of the big things, by not having another fossil fuel plant here. And, you know, I guess they may have done the arithmetic and found that it was better to do this than do nothing. So I'm not sure if this is even bad.
Solar farms also need millions and millions of gallons of water to clean the mirrors and to generate power. Since most solar farms are built in the desert, we're talking about a precious resource already in short supply.
The desert? Now, I have no clue if they're draining massive amounts of desert oases to fuel these solar plants, but this is another thing that we have to think about with nuclear power. And the pollution into the water is something we have to think about with any fossil fuel plant. So I'm not sure so we have to put these things into perspective. Obviously, he tried to fearmonger about 300,000 birds dying from wind turbines when 1 billion birds are killed by windows, and not even sure how many birds are killed by fossil fuel pollution. So we could take that into account, but I'm quite sure it's more than the wind turbines, considering there's not even that many wind turbines. So I'm not just throwing about a bunch of numbers sounds cool and fun and sick and based and whatever, but we have to put all of these into perspective.
When push comes to shove, water could become the real throttle on renewable solar energy, according to Michael Weber.
Michael Weber, professional mechanic engineer. Wait, let's see. When push comes to shove, what? Okay. Water could be the throttle on. Can we find this? Just type it in directly. Oh, here it is. Do we have to destroy the... Okay. From Prager. Oh, this is just the entire transcript. Okay. Well, that doesn't help. That's just the entire transcript of the whole video. I don't think we need that. Well, we could find this later. Michael Weber. Wait, can we find him? Michael Weber, professor. Paris? Global Energy and Infrastructure Service Company. And just because a problem has a solution has a bunch of problems doesn't mean that it cannot be fixed or ameliorated anyway. I know I can't find this right now. Have to do it another time.
Professor of mechanical engineering at the University of Texas at Austin. Then there's the issue of what to do with solar panels that wear out. The panels contain lead and other toxic chemicals that can't be removed without breaking up the entire panel. Since it's far cheaper for solar manufacturers to just buy the raw materials than recycle old panels, those old panels end up in landfills. Or as the New York
Maybe the government can step in and provide some grants to help those people, to help those companies recycle their old panels. That could be sick. That could help out a lot, won't you think? So you won't have so much landfill. And one thing that I'm thinking of, where do we put all those spent rods from from nuclear power? That's something to think about, don't you think? I feel like no one will ever bring up where to put all those spent rods from nuclear power. Now, just to say, I'm not like necessarily against nuclear power or anything. It is a valuable thing to wonder, what do we do with these spent panels? What do we do with the spent windmills? What do we do with spent anything? We should be recycling it. And some recycling right now is a little bit more expensive than just throwing it away, just throwing it into the water, But this is a problem with a lot of things. Hey, listen, we just dump shit into the ocean all the time with a renewable energy, with fossil fuels. So it's not like this is a unique problem to fossil fuels. It's funny how
Times discovered in a 2019 investigation dumped in poor African nations. Wind turbines may have an even worse disposal problem than solar panels. First, they are gigantic. A single blade can be longer than a wing on a jumbo jet. Second, they're made of fiberglass, which has to be cut by a diamond-studded saw to be carted away on giant trucks. And as with solar panels, the only thing to do is bury it.
What? Wait. So they have a diamond-studded saw, and then they put them on trucks. Do you want the trucks to be e-trucks too? Or something? Like, yeah, right now we don't get that much power from like electric. So we have to use fossil fuels to make renewable energy right now. Like, who the freaking thunk it?
Them, toxic materials and all. This is done, as you can imagine, in enormous pits, creating yet another landfill problem. All this environmental degradation is happening on a relatively small scale right now because we get less than 10% of our electricity from wind and solar sources. If we were really to embark on a wind and solar build-out of the kind environmentalists advocate, the damage would be much, much greater. Consider this. Today's energy system requires just 0.5% of the land in the US. If we were to get all the energy we now use from wind and solar, at least 25% of all land in the US would be required. That's a lot of dead wildlife. Doesn't sound very green, does it?
Whoa, okay. For one, I'm not sure if that's true. Let's even say it's true. I don't think anybody's pushing just straight wind and solar. There are lots of other things that we can use for renewable energy. There's some places that are even trying to run off algae, and that's super sick. All right. Right now, we're in the beginning stages of renewable energy. So this is what we got. All right. But one thing that we do know is that we do need to put more time and research into it to get away from fossil fuels. And I don't know what this person's advocating for. Maybe he's like a big nuclear energy guy or something. I don't know I have no clue what he's pushing for. Maybe he's pushing for nuclear, but it's not like any of these problems are unique to like fossil fuels or nuclear energy either. Like I said, what do we do with those spent rods? So I don't know. Prager, you're really weird. But nice work trying to shit on like windmills, I guess. I think they look cool. With all this talk about windmills,